midst of a property that was very, very heavily infested with conehead termites. Was found about 3 years ago. And so far we can't find them now.
This piece of property is approximately 2/3 of an acre. It had 26 nests on it that we destroyed when we first found the property in early 2015. And to have that number of nests on such a small piece of property, this had millions upon millions upon millions of coneheads. I am celebrating today because the City of Dania Beach brought out their landscape contractor and had the property cleaned, mowed, the vegetation all cleared up. That is a significant move towards eradicating the conehead termite from this property. Because the property before 2 weeks ago was heavily overgrown, unused, unmowed, a lot of vegetation on the ground, branches, especially since Hurricane Irma came through, the property was very hard for us to survey for conehead termites. There were many hiding places for them. This is an insect that loves to hide. They hide their tunnels behind vegetation, their nests underneath branches and logs. They always cover an area that they're eating. They cover it with this material. So they were eating inside this tree, but it's all down in there, all there, tunnels all throughout here, and this is like nothing. See all the tunnels going up there? To get it to this point where we are not finding anything, not that they're not here, but they're not visible. The population is so small that they're not showing themselves. But to get to this point in merely 2 years is a phenomenal accomplishment. When the vegetation was cleaned up by the City of Dania Beach on this property, it was done in such a way that conehead termites would not be transported to another location. All that vegetative debris was chipped on site. The chipping alone would significantly reduce the risk of any termite being able to live through that process. But to double make sure that we did not spread the coneheads beyond the property, the landscaper took the chip material and spread it over the property. The other thing we do is before the contractor leaves, we look at the equipment, inspect it, make sure there are no coneheads on the piece of equipment or the equipment that they're using. So the chances of coneheads leaving this property through that process are completely negative.
2 years ago, we were alerted to a new discovery of this conehead termite in 13 miles north in Pompano Beach, Florida. And sure enough, it was verified as the conehead termite. And the question was, how did it get there? Human transport. So it could hitch a ride, basically hitchhiking, on wooden materials that are transported from one infestation to another. Wood products, railroad ties, pallets, nursery trees, furniture, all these different things could have moved it. What we do know from DNA analysis is that the two infestations are very, very closely related. In other words, a single colony was introduced into Florida, and then it was transported the 13 miles to the different site. So we want to prevent that from ever happening again. Yesterday, we were at the one remaining site that we know about in South Florida that still has a large number of active conehead termites.
It's about 3.4 acres in size. It's been heavily infested. We discovered it in April of 2016. It was heavily infested. It's still got a lot of termites on it, but we have made significant progress.
So we went through our normal protocol of inspecting, looking for them, trying to identify exactly where they are. They have these tunnels so we can identify exactly where they are. And then we remove and destroy their nests. So the nest, which can be the size of a basketball or the size of a watermelon, they can grow to those size really in a couple of months. And they're jam-packed with termites, several 100,000 termites.
There was no nest on this tree visible approximately 6 months ago. So this nest grew that big in just 6 months, and that shows having so many kings and queens in one nest, they can really produce a lot of eggs, and the population can just triple in a matter of months.
We pull off the nest because the nest is really the heart of the colony. It has the reproductives, it has the eggs, it has the nursery, and it has all sorts of helpers, the soldiers and workers who are tending those reproductives in the nursery and bringing in food and water and so forth. If we destroy the nest, we're really making a huge injury in the entire colony. We're not getting the individuals that are off in trees foraging, and so we can't get everybody, but we can do a very good job. People know about that a honeybee colony has a queen, the queen bee. And in termites, it's unusual in that they have both a queen and a king. And in this particular termite, the conehead termite, even more unusual because there are multiple queens and multiple kings. And that's one of the reasons that this termite is so rapidly growing.
The little white spots, little white speckles, those are all eggs. You can see kind of it gets lighter color. I look for the group of white, which is, the immatures or the eggs. Oh, I saw a nib.
There's a queen. Okay, she's running away. I'm going to try and put her in here.
Yeah.
So we've just pulled out over 30 queens and kings from this single nest. There's a king. That's a queen, that's a king. So that's one of the challenges with this termite, is that it grows so quickly. But when we destroy a nest, we're destroying those reproductives. So we pull the nest off the tree or off the ground, and then the first thing we do, it sounds crude, but we just step on it. That pressure, without any pesticides, is killing 200, 300,000 termites, and as well as the reproductives and the queens. Before we actually stomp on it, we sometimes look at it to understand what stage it is in biology, especially with regard to if it has the developing swarmers. So once per year, just like ants do, or honeybee colonies will swarm also, the way that they naturally disperse is to produce a form that has wings, and then once a year, just like a fruit tree produces fruit once a year, these colonies produce these swarmers once a year that can go off and fly, males and females, and they become the new kings and queens and start new colonies. So one of our key objectives is to stop that, to prevent them from flying. So addressing this termite, when we find them, we first do everything we can without pesticides. So destroying the nest and being very careful to understand exactly where the termite is and isn't. Then we bring in a power sprayer or other pesticide treatment, and very targeted, direct it at where the termite was active.
He's treating the footprint where the nest sat. What we're trying to do is get any reproductives that may have escaped back into the tree. And now he's performing what's called a perimeter treatment around the base of the tree to preclude any termites that may be surviving in the remaining tunnels from escaping. And our intent is when they crawl over the top of the pesticide that they pick it up and take it back to other areas where coneheads may be.
I treat the tree, I treat the destroyed nest, and we treat the surrounding area with the termiticide to prevent the termites from coming and going. This area right here, this is typical of an on-the-ground nest inhabiting or infesting wood debris. We find these just by actually looking at all the wood debris that you see around this area.
Conehead termites love sable palmettos, especially the dying branches and the dead flowers. They're prime habitat for conehead termites, prime food for conehead termites. And what they will do is they will build tunnels up these trees to get to the feeding area. And then if they're happy in this area, they will build a nest and just move back and forth from the tunnels, the feeding area, through the tunnels, to the nest, back and forth all day long.
See it? This is one where it's nicely hidden in the debris, where you see a little bit of the carton that sticks up. And then as you start moving things away, you realize it actually goes quite far down. Probably all the way underneath.
The whole nest coming up there, see it?
All we saw was this little bit at the top sticking up, and this entirety is the nest, all intermixed.
I'm going to do this a little bit quicker.
Use a shovel and smash it with a shovel.
Lots of eggs.
Like a terpene or something.
Yes.
Oh, yep, here's some reproductives. Here we go.
There's at least one in there.
Hey, don't look out.
There's a few in there, aren't there? No, they keep coming.
We use pesticides very directed and according to label in a limited way, with the philosophy that by spraying in a small section of the natural habitat, we are therefore preventing this termite from spreading and from becoming established broadly in Florida. So we have a little pain now for a big gain in the future, big potential gain. All of this is somewhat expensive. Again, I feel it's a great deal because it is a small area now impacted by this termite, and we can win this battle, but it does take some resources. So the state is putting in money towards this effort, but we need the collaboration, the partnership from the municipalities, from the county, from the citizens, everyone willing to contribute to this effort. And that's how we're going to make this happen. We can do this. One wonderful feature about it is easy to identify, and this is why we're calling on citizen scientists and residents and landscapers and anyone who might be out to and about in the environment to, if they see suspicious activity like a trail or a nest, call us because we'd love to come check and make sure find out if it's conehead termites. But another way to identify them that's different from other termite species in this area is that their wings are a charcoal rusty black and a smoky black. And that's different color than other native and other introduced termites in this area. So those charcoal, smoky black wings are a diagnostic that it is the conehead termite. So another thing I wanted to talk about is the breadth of destruction that this termite can cause. It is a grand muncher. It eats almost anything made out of cellulose. So it would be a structural pest. We've seen homes that were just significantly compromised by the damage of the termite. So it can be a structural pest, an agricultural pest, natural areas, and it just eats almost anything. In natural areas like this, where we are, when we first found this area about 3 years ago, there were termites absolutely everywhere, this conehead termite, on every stem, every shrub, all the litter on the ground, all these trees. But we took care of it. So by carefully working through, we've got a good protocol. We can do this. We can get this done. We can certainly contain and suppress this termite. We think we can eradicate it, but we need everyone's help to get on the team and look for it, find it, and address it. It's a high bar to eradicate. No one tries to eradicate termites or get them out of natural areas, but we're doing that with this termite because we do feel we have a chance. It's very contained right now. We're in a very small area, and so we feel like we've worked very hard to get to this point. We want to continue full throttle to go to the point of complete eradication. We won't know that for a number of years, at least 10 or 15 years after we find the last termite, because their biology is that when they're young colonies, they are hidden within wood. We don't see the trails or the nests. So we have to keep checking over and over and over at the same sites to make sure that since our last check, they haven't bloomed into a colony of enough size to produce the trails or the nest. So that's going to take checking and checking and checking year after year. And that's where we can't lighten up. We've invested this much, and in fact it's a very small investment compared to the financial impacts were this termite to get broadly established in Florida or beyond. So it's a heck of a great investment for us right now, protect our homes, our landscapes, our agriculture, our natural areas, and then for our children, grandchildren, because once this termite did get out and about much further, there's not a chance of reining it back in or ever eradicating it. I've been working on this program about 5.5 years, and the reason that I joined the team was that this termite, the conehead termite, is actually the species that I worked on for my PhD thesis back in the day, many decades ago, in Central America. And I had the privilege of studying this termite in Central America, South America, and the Caribbean, much of its native range, now for over 30 years. So it's very important in the ecology and the natural ecosystem of its native range, very important for degrading wood and decomposing cellulose, so that, for example, tropical rainforests would not exist without this termite and its close relatives, because tropical rainforests have a relatively nutrient-poor soil, even though they have lots and lots of vegetation in their very thick, lovely forest. But when those trees and vines and plants fall down, it's this termite that gets in and rapidly decomposes and returns those nutrients to the soil so that other things can grow. So that's all well and good to have it be an important feature in the ecosystem of its native range. But here in Florida, we have enough termites. We don't need this one. And because I know it so well, having studied it, I know its potential, and it would be a very, very significant pest. Huge economic impact, huge environmental impact, not only for the destruction that the termite itself would do, but also for all the pesticides that would have to be applied to address it. We are trying very hard to contain, control, and eventually eradicate this invasive species. Now, usually with invasive species, it's a big challenge. It's a challenge with this one as well. But we feel we have a chance, where with most invasive species, there is a very slim, almost no chance. For example, the python, it can slither away, or invasive fish, they can swim away, or invasive fruit flies, they fly away. But with this termite, because it builds visible features, so it builds little trails that we can actually see, and it builds big nests that we can actually see. And it stays in those positions where it's built its nest, kind of like a tree does. So it's not like a python that slithers away. If we find it, we can treat it and we can kill it.
The Department of Agriculture has been in the process of eradicating the conehead termite for actually about 15 years now. We had to reboot the program in 2012 because we found a new area of infestation. We have focused heavily on that. We've had a lot of support from the City of Dania Beach in arresting the conehead termite from the city. And the property I'm standing on now is the last property where we have seen live coneheads in the City of Dania Beach.
This is a group, collective, team effort, and Dania Beach has really stepped up and helped us, so we're very appreciative.